Welcome to Espiritu Coffee Chats, where we brew up inspiring conversations over a warm cup of coffee. I'm Valerie, the co-owner of Surge Coffee Co., where we highlight culture and community in all of our drinks.
And I'm Arlene, the owner of Lunaso Wellness. As a holistic realtor, interior designer, and spiritual coach, I'm excited to bring a unique perspective to our chat.
Together, we'll explore the world of herbalism, spirituality, and the entrepreneurial journey.
We will also dive into our Latina backgrounds and how we navigate the everyday world.
So grab your favorite mug and settle in, and let's dive into today's chat. Welcome back to the podcast.
Welcome back.
How have you been, Arlene?
I've been amazing.
Me too. I love it.
Yay.
Okay, so today we're just going to jump on in, and today's episode is about us and our backgrounds, about our business and how we got started in our business. So I'll go first.
Yes.
And my path to, I feel like my path to entrepreneurship has been kind of long. When I, growing up in La Puente,
I was just there.
The party looked like so much fun.
Oh my God, it was so fun. Yes. Yes. That was when your auntie, your tia has a 70-year-old birthday party and there's still piñata. Yep.
I love it. I love it. But yeah, so growing up, my parents were also business owners, and they, I don't know if they necessarily encouraged us, but it was just kind of one of those things like, you should probably have like your own spending money, because we were always on like budgets essentially. And so I would have my mom and dad go to Sam's Club and get like all the Mexican candies.
And you're those kids.
Yes.
Ooh, okay. Nice.
And I would sell that. And then like in the summers when I was with my cousin at my grandma's house, we would have like lemonade stands and sell that. So I guess I kind of had like the entrepreneurial spirit early on. And then, yeah, I didn't really do anything much about it later. Then I went to school, and then I started my career, and I was working in corporate America in market research for 5-6 years, I think. And I was like, I want to climb the corporate ladder. I want to be in the C-suite. And yeah, after a while, I was like, I'm getting kind of tired of this, and I want to start something of my own. And I tried to launch, I don't know if I told you, I tried to launch a purse line.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. She always has cute bags.
Yeah, and I launched I did one set of 10 or 12 purses, I think, but it was just it was a lot. As a solopreneur, I don't think I was built for it. Or maybe I just needed someone to help me.
Was it like an MLM, or you sourced these 10 purses yourself?
I sourced them. I designed them. I found someone to make them. I chose the leather.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's just one of the, I love fashion. I love creating things. So I was like, why not? Let's try it. And it's a lot of work. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do this. And by that time, I was already dating Chris. I think we were just early on in our dating. I think we had just gotten together. And then, I didn't pursue it afterwards. And then with him, when we were dating, we both said we wanted to have a coffee shop. And at some time in the future. And it was one thing that we did a lot was going on coffee dates, and we would just go, we'd talk about life, talk about how our jobs were, and then we talk about if we had a coffee shop, what would it look like how would it be different than this, what's the differentiator? And then 2019 we were like, you know what, I'm done, let's just start it and do something different.
And so pre-COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was right before COVID, and we sat together in the living room one night and had some drinks, and we're like, okay, let's write the business plan. And so we wrote a whole business plan. My background is in demographic social analysis and also GIS, geographic information analysis.
Sounds really smart.
It's a lot of numbers.
You lost me already.
So the way I like to say it, like explain it to people is like, it's like people watching but through data instead of like actually looking at their behavior. You look at the data to kind of pull out the behavior of what they're doing. So for me, it was like very natural to be like, oh, let's see how many people like drive on this street. Like, what are the peak times? Like, what is the demographics of these areas? And we wanted to like start out with the brick and mortar. It was going to be in like Mission Valley, Grantville area. And then the pandemic hit and we were like, yeah, let's not do this right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, then we switched to an online coffee roaster. Before we officially launched, we spent like, I don't know, a year teaching ourselves how to roast coffee and all of that stuff. We started on these little like popcorn making looking machines for our coffee. We under roasted a lot of coffee. We over roasted a lot of coffee. And then, by the time we launched, we're like, okay, we're just going to sell coffee online. And then gradually from there evolved into a mobile coffee cart. I think that was like 2021 when we finally did that. And then, now January 2024 opened our first brick and mortar in El Cajon.
Was it in January?
Yeah.
This year?
Yeah. So, I guess technically we had like soft openings.
Okay.
We had soft openings in 2023 because we're like trying to, we've never had a coffee shop before. Like my background's not in coffee. Chris is in environmental health and safety and risk management. So neither of us came from food and beverage. So we're like, let's do a soft launch. Well, we've never done a coffee shop before. We've only done mobile operations, usually for parties and events where there's no exchange of money. And so we felt it was important to have the public soft launch to kind of get used to being in the space, figure out what we didn't know and what we didn't expect. And then when we we wanted to open in 2023, but it was just between having full-time jobs and trying to like literally build out the coffee shop ourselves, because it was me, Chris, and my mom and my dad and my brother for a couple things. That took a lot of time. We were very slow in construction. Like I know construction is generally slow, but we were very slow.
They were tortoises slow.
Yeah.
Sloth-like.
Yeah, exactly. Because it was like our second job. So it was like morning day shift was working the 9 to 5, and then evening night shift was working at the coffee shop and roasting and getting caught up and things like that. And so, it took us time. We were like, well, this is just kind of what it is. We expanded our team from 1 barista to 4, basically overnight. It's kind of crazy. And it's been a wild ride ever since. So, Search Coffee at the Gallery in El Cajon is now our first baby.
Check it out. Okay, I have a couple questions. You don't work your corporate job currently?
No, I officially quit in October of last year, like very end of October.
And how does that feel?
Oh, so many things.
Everybody always talks about, just quit your job and it'll be amazing.
It's so much fun.
I'm sure it is in some ways.
It is, for sure. I mean, it definitely has afforded me a lot of like more balance than before. It's nice being able to kind of like dictate my own schedule, but also like now everything is on me. Like I don't have that consistent salary. It's because I'm not getting paid. I'm getting paid, but not a salary. It's just kind of like the tips I get to take.
If you could afford it.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's like, okay, everybody else gets paid first. We pay off like our vendors, we pay our payroll. And then maybe if there's some stuff, then I will get paid. Or if there's catering events that we win, then I'll have like a couple $100 because I've built that in already for myself. But in the day-to-day, otherwise, it's very hard. Gosh, I feel like it forces you to really look inward, and you find all of the gaping holes. You find everything that you have been blocking for years. All the emotional trauma for me, like, just all came rushing up because, I don't know, I guess just like being in business and like learning that stuff, and then also being in a relationship with your partner and being a business owner with your partner.
Lord have mercy.
Girl, it is not for the weak, let me tell you. Yeah, you just really have to be dedicated to each other is what it comes down to, I feel. And communication. Yes. Communication and being dedicated to each other. But yeah, it's been a wild ride. It's vulnerable. It's scary. There are fun times. There's lots of highs for sure. And the flexibility is great. But yeah, you kind of just have to like make your guts stronger, I guess.
Yeah, be able to wear all the hats and know that you might not make money at the end of the day. But later on, it'll come.
Yes. Yeah. I think the hardest part for me has been, because before when we were only mobile operations, we would just do it on the weekends. And so I could spend the week like marketing, doing like sales and stuff like that. And now I'm like having to do it all at once. And it's like, I mean, we're closed on Mondays at the shop, but I'm literally working Monday through Sunday. So
yeah. I think the difference, though, is that the difference of working with like corporate or corporate America or working just for any other company, grouping corporate, you can work for Target, right? But you're like putting all of your energy into somebody else's business. Yes. And I think that when it's your company, even though it is long and grueling hours sometimes you don't even get a day off, there is that satisfaction that's like, but this is me that I'm building. Yeah. Like I'm building my own bike to learn how to ride, and the seat's going to be perfect for my little tushy, and it's going to turn the way I want it to turn. So I do think like that's also like a mind framing thinking sometimes that you have to like stop and remind yourself.
Yeah.
When it comes to being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And also giving yourself grace. Like there's 1,000,001 things to do, and like you're just not going to do them all in like one single day. It's just, you kind of have to have general like progress, check things off day by day as you go. And I think for me, like being like an overachiever, perfectionist, like recovering from that's been really hard, because it's like I have so many things to do and it all feels like they're all urgent. And so having to like sit down and prioritize like, okay, what's actually going to make me money and what's actually going to make a difference in our business. And yeah, just sometimes the things on the to-do list get put onto the next day.
Right. I know. And to the next day and the next day after that. I'm excited as we do more of these to talk about coffee, because I still don't know a whole lot about coffee and like, what is the whole like regional, like why would you want to get it from Ethiopia versus Guatemala? Like I think that would be really cool to dive into.
Yes.
And like the different aromas and just all the things that like you're an expert that I'm sure you've, self-taught. But self-taught definitely goes a long way.
It really does. Lots of YouTube, lots of books, lots of podcasts. Yeah. It's very much like wine, like how wine has their different, how wine has their different like terroirs, like the grapes taste different from different lands, essentially what it is for coffee. It's like the coffee tastes different from different lands. The type of coffee that they're growing also is different. How they process it is different, because from what it looks like on the tree to how it ends up in your cup are two very different things. But yeah, there's just so many factors and variables that go into it. But yeah, very much like wine. And I think that's starting to catch on more in not just the food and beverage industry, but in coffee specifically, because people are like, oh, if I get my coffee from Colombia, like generally it's going to have these flavors. If I get it from Brazil, like maybe it'll be more chocolatey. And there are going to be instances where it's not that, but generally you can kind of know what the coffee is going to taste like depending on the region that it's from.
Right. So people can connect with you online, right? Because so if you're not in San Diego, you could order online and get a freshly roasted coffee subscription type deal, and kind of ordering online, which is nice. Clearly going into Surge Coffee, which is in El Cajon, downtown. And they're also part of a gallery.
Yeah, so we share the space with the East County Art Association, and so they're a nonprofit that's been around since like the 80s, and their members are the ones who usually do the art. So we'll have a rotating art display every like 4 to 6 weeks. It changes, Or sometimes we'll have guest artists. Like right now, it's the Chula Vista Art Guild that's in there. Yeah, and it's just, it's a lot of fun, like, between that and then, like, doing the mobile pop-up events. We get to go to different places. Like, we have an event coming up with the San Diego Botanic Garden in Encinitas, and I'm super excited because I love the San Diego Botanic Garden. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I highly recommend everyone to go, especially if you love nature. Yeah, and then if you want to follow us on Instagram at Surge Coffee or on TikTok at Surge Coffee Co. or our website, surgecoffee.com, and that's Surge spelled with a J, not a G. Join our email newsletter because we update everyone on like all of our events and things that we're doing because we also host community events. So yeah, we're doing a lot, which I have to remind myself of.
Yeah, right. You just listed everything. And I do have to say, you also have merch. You're
Yes.
forgetting about that.
Yes.
And their merch is super cute. It's a mixture of both backgrounds because your husband is Armenian.
Yes.
And you're Latina.
Yes.
Mexican.
Yeah.
So you've like just merged the two together and they have a really cool like logo that I love and swag.
Yes. Yeah, we might eventually do a rebrand that we're talking about, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah. So that's kind of like a high level overview of me. How about you? Let's dive in.
Okay. So I would say, well, I remember when I was little, I used to make a bunch of stuff, like bracelets and all that stuff, and I would sell it to my tias, and they would give me like $1.
Nice. I
And
mean,
I
you
would
still make bracelets.
I know, I do. And I would like save it in my pencil box, and then that's kind of how I would like make my little side money, I guess my little like blip of entrepreneurship.
Yes.
My dad is actually an entrepreneur. He is a construction worker. He has his own construction. So he's construction. There's your plug, daddy. And he actually left, which is kind of something that I look back because I saw it was. I remember being a kid and he made good money. He worked for a construction company and he was high up and at a young age, I mean, in his like late 20s or maybe early 30s, making really good money. And then, but he had a lot of kids. So, and he was really young. And my mom didn't work. So it's not like we had money, but not like a lot of money
Yes.
because it was one income. But it was still good for the time and his age and his talent and stuff. So I guess he like got... he didn't get promoted to where he thought he should be, so he decided to leave the company. He was like, screw it, I'm going to leave. And he left, and knowing that there's like a bunch of mouths to feed and everything.
Yeah.
But he started that company in like the 90s, like early 90s. So I remember door knocking, leaving flyers, and going to like the new neighborhoods that had construction so he can get business because he was starting out with like, I know, right?
You got early training.
I did. I got early training. I didn't get paid either.
Did we ever?
No. And it was like in Rialto, which is in the hood of the Inland Empire.
Oh, that's so funny.
So it was hot and,
Yeah.
but, we just were like, my dad's like, come on, let's go. We got to make some money, And so, so that was kind of nice to, now that I look back, like I got that work ethic in a sense and seeing like, just also seeing how, he started out so small and he wanted to do things his way and he wasn't afraid to leave. Nice. And then, it ended up working out for him. I mean, he has a great business right now and, he's doing great financially and all that stuff. So, so I think that was something that was like, ooh, interesting. Mm-hmm. And then in my 20s, I got my real estate license at like 23.
Nice.
So that's already like a sales job. And then I started working for the bank, Wells Fargo, and I was doing loans and all that stuff there. Oh. So definitely much into the like real estate loan financial stuff.
Yes.
But I had to do sales, so I was always in some sort of sales at a young age, and then everything crashed. So you guys all remember that?
Yeah. The 2008 crash.
2008 crash. So everything that I was like, ooh, I'm going to make so much money. It was like, no, you're not. You're going to go clean houses after all this, which I actually did. So I have a hustler's, mind frame. So at that point I was like, well, okay, everything that I just had my toe in now all fell apart. Mm-hmm. But let me still keep my toe in real estate. And I know that eventually something will come. And then I did go back to school during that time and I got my interior design degree. And then within all that, I, finished my degree and then then I decided to expand my family. So me and my husband got married, and then I had my kids. But I want to say by the time I had my last daughter, I was in my early 30s, my last child. I was just like itching, like, dude, I can't. I'm gonna like start. My eyes are gonna start to cross. I was like, I need to do something with myself. I love this mom life thing. Yes. But I feel like I've always brought in some sort of money, and I like bringing in money. I like being, even if it's like $100, like I love to just at least feel like I'm contributing something to the table. So I was trying to look for things that I could do while still being at home with my younger ones. And so I got into beach body.
Oh
yes!
Oh my God!
I was all
did you get certified?
I did. I was working. I was like one of those coaches where you work out, and I like give you a whole meal plan, all this stuff. So, and I've always been into working out. I've always worked out since I was like 15. So it was like, okay, this is something like I got to work out anyway. So I might as well make money. And so there's even some videos that's like on my Facebook page if I go back where it's like I'm doing like a push up and my daughter's on my back.
Oh my God. I love it.
And so, but I thank God for that beach body era. It was only like maybe 2 years, because everything started to come out with video. The thing was like, you got to go on Facebook Live, and Instagram didn't even have video yet. So Facebook was like the one where you do your live streaming, or YouTube's.
Yeah.
So then I started getting used to, my coach was like, you got to get used to this. And she would force everybody to do videos.
Yeah. You were an early like content creator / influencer. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, didn't get paid like one, but I mean, I got like at least all that like limiting belief stuff about being on video out of the way, like when nobody was really looking at videos that much. Nice. So I got really comfortable with being on camera. And then I think because something blew in my way, and it was like, maybe I saw like one of my local friends, my mommy friends, like she got a yoga certification. And I was like, oh, what's this about? And then I was like, it's perked my interest. So then I started looking into it, and I was like, you know what, maybe I can teach yoga. I was like, that sounds nice.
Yeah.
So I got my yoga certification. But that's kind of the story of where Pandora's box opened. Like, I didn't know that. I thought yoga was just you stretch. Because I used to do karate, too.
Oh, nice.
So when I was younger. So it reminded me, like, the moves and all that. Reminded me of, like, oh, this is kind of like being in karate again, but like an adult. So I go in there, and it's a hot yoga studio. And it's also super accelerated yoga certification. So it's like normally they take, like, 4 to 6 months. Some could even be a year. This one was, like, in 2 months. Which was kind of perfect because I was like, I need to get this out of the way anyway. I have my kids, and let me just like do a fast track. So, but it was amazing, and it was great. It definitely changed my life. And at that point, I just started learning about, I was always spiritual, but like, I don't know. I didn't know how to get to it. Yeah. Like there was nothing there to be like, here's this and here's that. Like I would have to probably go and find something out on my own. Like I always loved astrology. So at that time of me doing my yoga certification, then I was like, all right, well, screw this beach body thing. Like, why am I going to go promote that? I could just promote myself.
Yes.
And then I started teaching yoga once I got my yoga certification. And then I also started doing yoga retreats just right off the bat.
Oh, my gosh. Look at you go.
Like, right off the bat. And I actually had a business partner. And we started, it was called Spirited Moon Sisters. And that's where my my Etsy shop came into play.
Cool.
And so we just used to sell the chakra rollers and I think a moon box, the like little boxes and like gift boxes or whatever. And that like partnership lasted for like 6 months.
Oh, it was short-lived.
Yeah, super short-lived. And then we parted ways, and then I just rebranded. So I kept the formulations, everything, all that stuff. And then I opened up Luna Soul Wellness, which is what's here today.
Cool.
But it's all started from like trial and error. And initially I was Little Wellness Corner.
Huh.
That was my like, and the reason why I switched it over was because I don't know that Little Wellness Corner really like, I'm trying to go this spiritual path.
Yes.
And it doesn't really sound like it aligns anymore. I can't be Spirited Moon Sisters because there's no sister now.
Yeah.
So it's like, let me figure out. So I thought Luna Soul. And I was like, oh, you know, that name was already taken. So then I just threw wellness on the end, and then here we are.
Amazing.
So I still have my Etsy shop. It's still there. I still have my chakra blends and all that stuff. But going back to the yoga teacher training, I based my yoga retreats just off on starting to learn yoga and all that. And then I got into, I really click on, like, things really click for me really fast, especially when it involves spirituality. So I started getting into human design, and I self-studied human design. Like, that was like 2017. And I self-studied. I learned how to read charts. I did get certified, which I realized you don't need to get certified in everything. Sometimes you could just be your own person. But I was like under that imposter syndrome of, you should have a certification for everything. So so I started reading charts and human design charts in 2017 for family, friends, whoever would let me read it. It was like $30. First I started for free, and I was like, okay, now I start charging. I charged like $30, then it went to $50. And now it's the price it is now, which is going to be raised because I've not raised it since like 5 years.
Oh, yeah, definitely time to raise them.
That's how I got into human design. And it started aligning more because I think I learned about yoga, and yoga has the Ayurveda, which is the chakra system, and that's what human design has in it. So everything was just clicking. And then I've always been a fan of astrology. So then I started digging into that deeper, going into that. And then in 2019, December, so right before 2020, I got a scholarship through Shakti School for Ayurveda Holistic Health Certification. So at the time, I was like, okay, I'm like super onto this health path. Like, and I'm a Virgo, so I like love health, anything health, like whatever's wrong with you, let me be your servant and supporter, let me be your nurse. So it just was like really in alignment. So I did that 2-year program and finished that in 2022. And then I played around with it for a little bit, and I was like, I don't know that I want to do that. Like, I don't want to be an Ayurveda health counselor.
Right, yeah.
So one of the things about me is I'm a 1-3 in human design, and if you guys stick around more because you'll learn about yourself. So a 1-3 is like one that loves to learn, and the 3 loves to do trial and error. It's like, let me just play with something, and then the ideas that you play, and then you learn from it. So whether you can keep playing with it, or you can just let it go and move on. So you're just like always dipping your hands and your toes into all the things.
Yes.
And I felt like that was my 30s, was just playing and trying to fine tune what is it that my soul wants.
Yeah.
And so I literally dipped into a lot of different things. And then now when my 40s came around, I was like, all right, I think I kind of have an idea now.
Yes.
And so then about a year and a half ago, maybe a year ago, I can't remember. But then I was like, you know what? Let me just rebrand and add in all the things that I'm so passionate about. I'm also an expert about. And I think it took a while for me to feel like an expert in interior design and real estate, because it's not like I had a steady stream of income, but I've always had like my toes in it.
Yes. I mean, you've always done it in some form or aspect.
Some way would blow my way, and I'd be like, okay, here we are. And I think because when I first started, it was such a like nothing you'd want to get into. Like, don't touch that because you're not going to make any money, or a lot of it depended on, what is that called? The economy. Yeah. So then I just was like, well, I'm just going to be a mom. And in the meantime, try to find things that I can still be a mom and work from home. And then now I'm like, well, wait a minute. My kids are older now. I loved doing it, and I want to play more with it. Yes. So that's where the concept of rebranding and adding human design and astrology and working with interior design and even real estate clients. And the premise is to create your home and making it a sacred temple. And so I think COVID really made me realize how much our homes are so important and how much they influence our mood and our day-to-day and our bodies, our health. Like, we have to have a kitchen to cook in, we have to have a bed to sleep in. Like, we're home. And now some of us are home longer because you work from home. And so I just started thinking more and more, and Spirit was just like, girl, like, I think you can do this. I think you can have a unique spin on it. And I think that you can bring something to the table that people don't know that they need yet. They know they want it, but they don't know that they need it. And so I love looking at people's human design and astrology charts. And then I bring in everything. I bring in, Ayurveda. I bring in all of the holistic training that I've ever done, all the things that I'm interested in, that I'm passionate about. And they all come into these like types of services. Yes. And I'm a very visual person. So when it does come to like the home, I feel like the home should feel pleasing and pretty, and everybody's pretty is different. Yeah. Oh my gosh, 100%. Yeah, everybody's pretty is so different. And a lot of it, what gave me so much clarity was I've been my own my own tester. Like I looked at my chart and I was like, okay, I can see this, I can see that, I can see this. And I literally do self-assess from like a very objective place. And I'm like, and I have, you know, I'm not young spring chicken. So I have gonna be 43 in September, couple weeks now. So, you know, I have some life behind me to go back and look at my chart and be like, oh, okay, now that makes sense. Or I look at transits right now and how they're affecting my chart. I'm like, okay, this makes sense. So this big shift and pivot from being this holistic wellness, yoga-based business now has turned into more of a literally wellness umbrella.
Yeah.
So trying to change lives and just do it in a different way and beat to my own drum. But I love it. It's makes me excited to feel like nothing went to waste.
Yes. Yeah. I love that because it's also really like the whole package. Like it's not just wellness in your body, it's like wellness in your home as well. And like that goes out to like if you have a family or if you have partners, like I feel like it's the perfect combo. And it seems like, oh, duh, of course, why wouldn't you do that? Like I love that your path like kind of led you here to have this kind of holistic view that encompasses everything.
Yeah, it's been really fun, and I think I like dumpster dives and rabbit holes. So I'll be like spending 3 months on a rabbit hole of learning about herbs.
Yes, because you're
indigenous medicines.
Yes, you know so much about all of that.
So
stuff.
I like study in the corner. Like people are like, "How do you know this stuff?" Because I don't share about it. Like I don't really talk about it. It's just like literally something I'm personally interested in, and then all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh, now there's this," and then whatever I'm into, like you know, it'll come out in somehow in some way. Usually my yoga retreats are where it is more where I do get to just focus on the spiritual part and like play with all the different things that you know, the philosophies that are out there. So anybody who goes to my retreats, like you're always going to learn something.
Yes, I went to one and I walked away with like so much knowledge.
She has like all these PDF guides.
Yes. I don't think you touched on it. What about astrocartography?
Oh yes. Okay, this has been my current dumpster dive. I'm like my head is all up in that hole, and my 2 little thumper feet are like out. So that's been really cool. So what astrocartography is that you get your astrology chart, and you kind of like just imagine, you know, it's like if you've ever pulled up your astrology chart online, it's like a circle, and then there's all these planets and these lines and all that stuff. So just imagine that you like unfold it, and now it's like a piece, like a newspaper, and you spread it across the map.
Okay.
And so the like for example, your sun, so you're a Pisces, right? You'll have a sun line, you'll have a moon line, you'll have an ascendant line, you'll have a Venus line. So for example, the sun line, so yours is in Pisces. So anytime there's a sun line in the world, then that means that's where Valerie shines. That's where she's going to get her ego fulfilled, or her life force is going to be recognized. Yeah. So they say go to a sun line when you're wanting to be recognized, because the sun, right, always wants to shine. So if you want to go and find love, go to a Venus line, or you want to go on a honeymoon or anything that has to do with love. And it doesn't even, Venus line doesn't necessarily mean like love as in partnership. I mean, it does, but it could also mean like, let's say you want to work on creating art, or you want to work on something that you desire, because Venus is also desire. So, you know, working on things that are of beauty, but to you, and like, what does that look like, and whatever that is, right? So you go to a Venus line. You can go to a Chiron line if you're looking for healing.
Gosh, amazing.
Pluto lines are if you're a little witch and you want to go into these like deep occult type philosophies, then you would go to a retreat that's on a Pluto line.
Oh, wow.
So that's just like the overall like gist of it, but it's not that simple, because you have to also, you're always looking at the birth chart. You're referring to somebody's birth chart. And so like, for example, my Venus line is not a good Venus because it's in its fall. It's in Scorpio. All you Venus Scorpios, it's not the best placement for Venus. So that means like, okay, then I have to see, are there any other aspects that are like helping that Venus planet out? And I do. I have some nice aspects in my chart. So then that means like, okay, you get the pass now, because you get some helper like energy. But let's just say if there was no helper energy, then like you go to a Venus line and you're like, yay, we're going to go for a honeymoon. Next thing you know, you're coming back with a divorce. or because he cheated on you or something
it was in
on your
Scorpio.
honeymoon. Yeah. Because his Venus is in Scorpio and it's not aspected. So like, and there's also, I fell in love with that, and I thought about, this is something great to bring to the business, because I thought about real estate and like people, wanting to buy their homes, and like, so you can look at where you live and how's that energetically going to affect you, right? So, because it's something like you're not moving,
right,
for the most part.
Yeah.
So I've done some readings where people are relocating, and they're like, okay, like what's the best neighborhood? Like, should I go here? Should I go there? I mean, it can get so specific that you can find the energy of like 10 miles. It'd be like, nope, go 10 miles north, not south, or or go this way and that way. And so it's pretty cool. And I've done enough readings to see like, okay, it's pretty valid. And then I've traveled a lot. So I've did my own, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that did happen there, or that was the energy there. So, so it's really cool. And I think it's just another thing that people could like, kind of like feng shui.
Yeah.
When people are like, let me feng shui my home. Well, I love feng shui, but then I have a love and a hate relationship, because I feel like feng shui is, yes, you should be working with the elements around you and the earth. Clearly, we are part of this earth, and it plays with a lot in direction and energy and all that stuff. But then I like working with the spiritual charts too, because it also focuses on you.
Yeah.
And what is your energy along with the feng shui of the home. And sometimes they don't always add up, but I feel like I have a current client that I'm working with, and the feng shui is not the best, and they're really stressing over it. And I'm like, well, okay, let me give you some peace of mind with your chart. Like, let's focus on you too.
Yes.
So I bring in that, and I think that's been a really nice thing to, especially if it's like not the best feng shui.
Right.
Where it's like, you can't build your house anymore these days, especially in San Diego. There's no land left. So like, you're going to be forced to be in a home that faces in the wrong direction, right? Like, there's nothing you can do about it, but that's why we want to focus on your chart. Yeah. And like, see if there's anything there that can help that energy.
Nice. I love that. Yeah. I almost compare it to like spirituality, also kind of like when you are eating, like, or some kind of diet, any kind of diet really, like, you want to have things in moderation, and like, don't want to get so stuck on certain things. Like, if you eat chia seeds every single day, it's probably not going to be like the best for you. You need to also bring in other things, and the pros and cons of it all. So I love that, bringing all of the different facets of all the stuff that you have learned over the years. Was there anything that like propelled you into real estate specifically when you first got started? Like, did anyone recommend it to you? Like, how did you just had a calling for it, or how did you get into that? My friend at the time, she was a good friend. She was in real estate, and they were maybe about 4 years older than me, a couple years older. So they're like late 20s, and they were doing really well. Nice. And then I wanted to go, so I was going to Chaffey College, getting my I was trying to get classes out of the way so I could make it more affordable to transfer to FITM. Nice. Which is the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in downtown LA, and it's really expensive to go there. So I was like, Is that where you got your interior design? Mm-hmm, yeah. Ah, cool. Yeah, that's cool. So cool. It's fun. Yeah. I'm obsessed. Yes. It was really expensive too. I bet. And, my parents didn't pay for me to go to college, and I was a young mom. I had my son at 19. So, but at that time, I remember I wanted to go to FITM like at maybe 20 after I had my son. Mm-hmm. And I went, and they're like, yeah, no, you can't get approved for a loan. And then nobody wanted to co-sign for me. Yeah. So I was like, great. So then I had to I was like, I'll just go to community college and take some classes, knock some classes out, build my credit. Nice. And then so it was a long road. So finally, once I was like able to feel like, okay, now I can go, that's when my friend was like, hey, you should get your real estate license. Yeah. And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, let me get my real estate license so that way I could pay for this student loan whenever, it comes into term, right? Yeah. Or whatever. So I was like, okay, I don't know that I want to make it my career, right. But I want something that can give me chunks of money. So that I could pay off my student loans. That was like literally the only reason why I got into it. Fair. And then once, everything crashed, I was like, well, okay, I'm still going to keep it. And then at that time, me and my husband bought our first home in 2011 or 2011, I think. And I had my license still, so I didn't let it go. And then I was like, oh, shoot, we can I don't have to pay another
a realtor.
Yeah.
So then I did that. And then, you know, and like I said, before that, I worked with family, friends, whatever. Right. So I just always kept it. And then I joined a mom's group when I moved to Temecula because I didn't know anybody. It was an amazing mom's group. And I got a lot of referral through the mommy club. So they're what kind of like, hey, Arlene, I'm going to sell my house. And can you know, or I want to rent it out. Or so that was always what kept my foot in the door. Plus, when anything else would land in my way. But that's what, like, yeah, that's long answer to your question.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. I mean, it's always helpful. Like, it's so funny. Just the other day, last week, this group came into the coffee shop and they were very young. I want to say like 2 of them were maybe like early 20s, mid 20s. And one of them, I think he was like maybe just starting high school or something. And they were interviewing him. Actually, they were going over like HR stuff and having him watch videos, training videos, because he was signing up to be some kind of like office assistant in a real estate office. And they asked him, they're like, well, what made you like go into real estate? And he's like, well, my mom kind of mentioned it like probably would be a good thing. And I'm like, yeah, like seeing like some of our friends that are in real estate now, I'm like, wow, that's such a great career to be in. Like, it offers you so much flexibility if you're willing to put in the work and do all of that stuff. And like, I mean, business in general also is like about relationships. And I feel like you meet so many people along the way, and especially when you get to really know someone and you like, get to be in this safe space with them and become vulnerable, like all of these opportunities come out, whether it be like buying a home, doing like the interior design or the wellness stuff. And like, even for us, it's like, oh, we want to have you at our wedding because like someone just loved their experience when they came in. And so,
yeah, I think building relationships is definitely something that's a part of real estate. And within that, I mean, I think I've had a love for homes. Like I told you the other day that I used to get shoe boxes and build a old shoe house, and I would build a dollhouse in it. I was like weird, and I would decorate it and everything. So there was my interior designer already coming out. And I was like, now we could sell it. No, I was kidding.
Put it in the art museum.
Yeah, we could sell it now. So yeah, I think it's just I've always loved houses too.
Yeah.
And now I think there's such a special affinity for homes that I have. Like they're just so special. And I'm going to get really deep here really quick. But when, you know, I have my daughter, she had passed away, and she passed away pretty unexpectedly in the home. So I learned at a young age that, you know, it shook my home life, right? My home environment. And I couldn't even go in the room for about a year. Oh, wow. Couldn't even go in there. And so I would sleep on the floor, and I had a full on bedroom and everything. And I'm like, I'm not going in there. And my lease wasn't up yet, so I couldn't move. So I now know what it felt like to be in this home that was like literally where your worst nightmare ever happened. Yes. So now I think that also over time, like now I look back and I'm like, but I know, just I guess from knowing what that feels like, that's why I also feel like, oh, the home is so important, you know, because I knew with that experience how much a home could be shooken, like through a traumatic experience, right? Yeah. Whatever that looks like. So, and then also knowing like you can't just get up and move. Like I didn't have that luxury, not at the time. So, so I think that's also something in my subconscious mind that's like, let's make it sacred. Let's make it special. And like anytime we did move, I've always had like little spots to like honor my daughter or little things. So I think there's just like also just, I don't know, I think something just hits to the soul, something about the home and like making it sacred and special. Yeah.
I love that. The greater purpose behind what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. It always starts with a very interesting story sometimes for people.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think especially if you tune in more into like the spirituality side, and then you like take a look back and you're like, oh, it's kind of makes sense that I'm here in my life doing the things that I'm doing because like back then I did X, Y, and Z. And like it all just kind of adds up if you just kind of like follow spirit and like the little messages of the universe gives you.
Okay, I'm going to give you guys some food for thought because I know Valerie's chart too, and I know my chart very well. So my moon is in Cancer, and Cancer rules the 4th house, and the 4th house represents the home. Yes. So that's also one of the things where I'm like, oh, that's why the home is so important to me. And then the moon being in Cancer, the moon is ruled by Cancer, so it's in its own sign, and it loves but it's also very nurturing. It's a motherly placement. It's very feminine. It's very emotional and all that stuff, right? So it's like that. I can see why I do feel so passionate about the home and bringing that spirituality to it.
For sure.
And then again, that connection to the 4th house, which is about the home. So Valerie, though, she is a Venus rising, and which means she's ruled by Venus. And Venus loves to create and make beauty, right?
Yes.
And Venus, so she's a Taurus rising.
Yeah.
I said she's a Venus rising. Like, she's Taurus rising, which means that she's ruled by Venus. So because she's ruled by Venus, and there's Taurus there. So Taurus and Libra are both ruled by Venus, but Taurus plays out Venus a little different. They're the foodies. Like, they're like, ooh, give me some food. Always. I want my plate to look pretty. I want to like indulge on what I'm eating, and they're very much into food, like, and it being pleasurable. So it's kind of like your rising sign is where you're like, kind of your purpose. It kind of leads you to your purpose, but it also gives you, like, it points you in the direction of, like, here's where to go. And so for you, you're playing it out in this like barista making food, and it probably makes your Venus rising in Taurus super happy when you see people sipping on a cup that you just made them.
Yes. Oh my God. I love when they take the first sip and they're like, I'm like, yes. I
Drink
want
it again.
the visceral ones. I just love those reactions. And yeah, I've always been a foodie. That's so funny that you mentioned that, because growing up, I actually wanted to be a chef, and I wanted to go to the Cordon Bleu. Like, I was set on it. But back then, it wasn't a thing that you did, because, the economy was like, you don't get paid. Now chefs are like celebrities. It's so crazy how different it is, but
they didn't have pop-ups back then. They weren't that
true.
Cool.
You're right. Yeah. Back then it was the dark ages of cuisine.
Yeah.
But yeah, and to see it play out now, and even like design the drinks that we have, like the coffee mocktails, to design, like, because we're going to be introducing food too, and so getting with our friends who are like trained in Michelin star restaurants, and like, oh, this is what I want in my coffee shop, and it's like fantastic food that tastes delicious, it's healthy, it's fresh, it's seasonal, like, it's everything that I wish I could have done myself, like being as a chef, but now I still get to like create these things and share it with people. And so yeah, it's been a lovely journey.
Yeah, and being a Taurus rising, it is about, Taurus has to do with resources too. So it's like sharing these beautiful resources that you're bringing to your coffee shop. It's like you're bringing in all the resources and pulling it from different avenues, right? So that somebody could just come to one place and enjoy the delights of food and, drinking. And you also mix a lot of your own, like there's an alchemy to it, and that's where that Venus loves that creation. So I think, I think your Venus is definitely playing out like my moon is playing out in mine, in my charts.
Yes, I love it. Yeah. I treat Surge Coffee like my kitchen, essentially, like, especially like being Latina, coming from a Mexican household, is like the kitchen is such a cherished cherished part of your home, that like you invite people into the space and you take care of them, you nourish them, like I don't know, it feels very much like that. And yeah, I'm glad that we get to live out our dreams,
right? I know, we get to live out our astrology placements. You made me think, so we'll leave you with a little like ritual to do.
Yes.
So I bought this little short at Walmart. I hardly ever go to Walmart, but I went to Walmart, and it's this tiny little Virgen Guadalupe prayer candle. It's super like tiny. It's like a little short. I don't know. They're like usually the taller white ones. Yeah. This is a little shorter. Another day I found it because I misplaced it, and I was like, oh, that's right. I brought this to light a candle when I'm cooking. To make it more of like a ritual, and having that like sacredness of like divine feminine, Mother Mary, like, bringing in a little bit of that Catholicism that sometimes we have a love and hate relationship with. But for me, it's more about like, and I think that just symbolizes like that moon sign that I have, like that moon placement being about the home and bringing, intention and ritual to the kitchen. And then, and like, I feel like you do that too when you're like creating things, and, it's bringing something special. So like we invite you to get your Guadalupe candle or whatever candle that you find pleasing maybe a nice Palo Santo candle, like cedar wood or something. I don't know. But, you know, like, yeah, if you don't cook, well, then while you're heating something up in the microwave, light it, or while you're eating, like, but I think that's something that is another way that people could bring some sort of ritual and beauty into the home by creating like a nice ritual during that time. It's like, you know, usually people start cooking around 5 to 7, whatever that window is, and the sun starts to set, and we're going to head into fall, so the sun will set a little earlier now.
Yes.
So it's like, you know, really thinking now, like, how can I make my space really special, and how can I make it in honor of Valerie, very beautiful and yummy and scrumptious.
Yes, I love that. That's such a great way to tune in and make your home special, your kitchen sacred.
Yes. Light the way.
Nice. Awesome. Any last words aside from the rituals that they can do?
Oh, so we'll probably talk about some fun astrology and human design stuff. And so for anybody that's listening, and please comment on wherever we have this, or feel free to email us or whatever, find our Instagrams. And I want to know, like, so I just talked about the moon being the 4th house, or I'm sorry, me being a Cancer moon, but it being ruled by the 4th house. Like, how does is home special to you? Like, what is your relationship with the home? Because if your moon is in Cancer, like, that home is going to be really important for you. And then if you're a rising, or if you're a Taurus rising, like Val, are you a foodie?
Yeah, I want to know. Let's be friends.
Yeah. Are you a fashion designer? Are you like, definitely that Venus is going to make it be very like creating something that's beautiful. And that could be food. It could be art. It could be, you know, making bracelets. It could be anything, right? So let us know if that kind of relates to you, because I think that just helps, like, you know, it's always fun to see how like this astrology lands for everybody.
Yes, I love that. So with that, thank you for listening to the podcast and joining us today, and stay tuned for the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Espiritu Coffee Chats.
We hope you enjoyed our conversation and found a little inspiration to take with you.
If you loved what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform.
And stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind the scenes content, and more.
Until next time, keep the spirit alive and the coffee brewing. Cheers! Ow, ow, ow.